In New York City, a place famous for skyscrapers, billion-dollar real estate, and some of the most expensive land on earth, there exists a piece of property, so small you could literally cover it with a pizza box. Most people walk past it every day without ever noticing it. No fence, no building, no sign screaming for attention. And yet, this tiny triangle of concrete tells one of the most stubborn, quietly defiant stories in the city's history. It's called Hess Triangle, and it exists not because of accident but because of revenge. To understand how this happened, you have to go back to the early 1900s, a time when New York City was expanding at a brutal pace. The city was obsessed with progress. Roads were being widened, avenues extended, and entire neighborhoods erased in the name of modernization. One of those projects involved extending 7th Avenue southward, connecting it to Varick Street to improve traffic flow in Lower Manhattan. On paper, it sounded simple. In reality, it was devastating. To make room for this new road, the city demolished entire blocks. Homes, family-run shops, apartment buildings gone. Thousands of people were displaced almost overnight. Among those affected was David Hess, a property owner whose family had owned a building directly in the path of the new avenue. Like many others, the Hess family had no real choice. Through eminent domain, the city seized most of their property. The building was torn down. Their livelihood was effectively erased. But here's where the story takes a turn. When the city finished surveying the land and finalizing the road expansion, officials realized something strange. They had taken almost all of the Hess property, but not all of it. Due to a surveying oversight, a tiny triangular sliver of land, measuring roughly 500 square inches, had been left behind. It was useless for building, too small to stand on comfortably, too small to sell, but legally it was still private property. When city officials returned and asked the Hess family to hand over that final piece so it could become public sidewalk, they expected compliance. After all, what could anyone possibly do with a piece of land that small? The Hess family said no. Instead of quietly giving it up, they decided to make a statement. In 1922, they installed a small mosaic tile directly into the ground. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, but the message was crystal clear. The tile reads, "Property of the Hess estate, which has never been dedicated for public purposes." That single sentence turned the smallest piece of land in New York City into a permanent act of protest. This wasn't about money. The land had no economic value. This was about principle. The Hess family had lost their building, their investment, and their place in the neighborhood to a city that prioritized infrastructure over people. That tiny triangle was all they had left, and they refused to let the city take even that. Over the decades, New York changed dramatically. Skyscrapers rose, traffic increased, generations came and went, and through it all, Hess Triangle remained untouched. It survived the Great Depression. It survived multiple city administrations. It survived wars, recessions, and massive redevelopment projects.
While millions of square feet around it changed hands for astronomical prices, this microscopic patch of concrete stayed exactly the same. What makes Hess Triangle so fascinating isn't its size, it's what it represents. In a city known for relentless momentum, it's a reminder that not everyone quietly accepts being pushed aside. It's proof that even the smallest act of resistance can last for over a century. Today, most people still don't notice it. It sits quietly at the intersection of 7th Avenue South, Varick Street, and West 11th Street, blending into the sidewalk. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. That tiny triangle isn't just a curiosity, it's a scar left behind by urban expansion and a symbol of one family's refusal to be completely erased. In a city where land usually belongs to the highest bidder, Hess Triangle belongs to history and to the idea that sometimes the smallest spaces carry the loudest messages.